welcome back to another Three Geeks conversation. Today I'm joined by Jamie and Chad Lindberg. Chad, welcome to the podcast. It's so great to have you on.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here from one geek to many others.
Oh yeah, plenty of us here. Well, what got you into acting?
Oh, wow. What got me into acting? You know, I, I guess I was just always kind of a ham, as a kid, pulling out the VHS, or except not the VHS, the big cameras, we had in the 80s. And I started doing it then, but then I never really considered acting. And then in high school, somebody convinced me to try out for a musical, that the local, I think it was Guys and Dolls actually.
That's
And then I
great.
jumped, I jumped on stage, and then I knew right away that this is something that I wanted to pursue. And then at the time that I was sort of like just jumping into theater, in my hometown, Jim Caviezel is from my hometown, and he played Jesus, of course. And at that time, he had just been cast in Wyatt Earp, with Kevin Costner, and it was this big thing in town. And I was like, oh man, I think I can do this too. And that's kind of what led me to kind of pursue, and then started doing it in Seattle, and which is where I'm from, Washington. And then that led me to Los Angeles, '96, and I've been here ever since, pursuing the long journey of what has turned out to be an amazing career, and
Yeah,
but with all that comes with it, so that's the little
yeah.
shortened version.
I love that. Looking back on your career, what's a moment you feel like that kind of truly changed everything for you as an actor?
Ooh, what was the moment? Like I said, I've had the pleasure of having a slow burn. You know, yes, to some degree, yes and no. It's for me, kind of, I started young, and then I started kind of working right away. I came to Los Angeles, and I had a lot of opportunity, at a very young age. Um, my trajectory was you learn much later on, the struggles that come with it, but for me, it started right away. And doing movies, and big movies, studio movies, and TV at the time, which was just sort of like, when ER was like, Friends and ER were like the Thursday night prime time, like that time, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And just kind of kept working, and then I would say sort of Fast and the Furious sort of changed everything within that instant, and I had been here, a good 4 years already, as in here, as in Los Angeles. Um, but it's, like I said, it's always just kind of it's you never know, you never
yeah.
know, you know. So yeah,
I think that was a good response. And
yeah,
Yeah.
I love that you brought Fast and the Furious into this because I'm diehard Fast and Furious. Like those movies, that's who I am. It's my heart and
that's your
soul.
jam. Yeah,
Yes, very much so. So when you went to, I guess, try out for that role, was
yeah.
that something that you were hoping to get, or was it just something you were maybe I'll be fine if I do or if I don't?
It's funny, and I've spoke about this, and told it many times, is that I turned down the audition at the time that I had gotten it, and I had, Fast and the Furious has taught me a lot about you never know. And at the time, for me, I came to LA with this envisioned of a much more like Leonardo DiCaprio sort of like envisionment here. And it became very apparent very fast that I was more of the computer guy. This was going to be my sort of like wheelhouse, and I, at the time that I got the audition, and it was called Redline. at the time. It wasn't what it has become. I wasn't, I read the script and I was being a little punk, and I was like, I don't like the script. But more, but also I didn't want to play, it was to play the computer guy again. And I really was like, I don't want to do that. So I got a huge fight with my manager, excuse me, my agent at the time, who I'm no longer with. And she hung up the phone. We got in a fight, and I said I wasn't going to go in because I wanted to, do independence and be this very serious actor. Man. And she hung up the phone, and I thought, hey, I won that battle. Good for me. And then the next day, another agent called me, and he said, just go in, man. Let him see you. He had a way of just kind of, and I was like, you know what? You're right. And so I went in and I auditioned, and then they called me back for the director and to read with a couple of other guys. I think it was Matt Strong and excuse me, Matt Schultz and Johnny Strong. There we go. And then I read with those guys, and I ended up getting the part later that night. And of course, always elated to get work in this big studio movie. And it was also kind of considered an independent studio movie at the time. It hadn't been done, this sort of car culture that was sort of bubbling under the scenes of street racing. And then we had a blast making this movie. I've had an absolute blast. And then when it came time for the movie to come out from a small town in Washington, which you will get to, but you have met my mom, Destiny. You have, and you're so sweet. And but she had said to me, she said, do you want to have a screening back home for friends and family? And I said, Mom, no one's ever going to see this film. And I meant it. I said those exact words, and then the movie came out, and then it changed my life instantly. And it taught me that you never know. You just never know. And it changed my life. And I can't imagine my life without it, and it still found me despite me Alexa, stop. Hold on 1 second. Let me hit. Alexa, stop. The good old alarm.
Real
life. But it just taught me that you never know. And now I can't imagine my life without it. And of course it turned into this juggernaut of pop culture. And it's still as relevant as it was back then, maybe even more, because we're in the nostalgia phase.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that trying out for this, you didn't expect it to have an impact that it did. So how does it feel knowing now that, aside from losing Paul Walker, because that is real life, how does it feel to have that moment in the movie where when you died, that was the most impactful moment that has pretty much happened as far as a death goes in the Fast and Furious series?
I agree. It's given me some, of course, time to because I didn't, Jesse didn't continue throughout the series, right? So I've had some time to kind of look back and figure out why that was impactful, and Jesse was the heart of the film. Jesse was the real guy. He represented everybody that was real within the scene, just in general. And if everybody else was slightly a little more kind of larger than life, but Jesse was the heart. And I think, of course, if you rip out the heart, you're going to be like, and then, propels them to go after the bad guys. And you're like, go, so I think it really drove, the whole entire franchise, right? Is that was it, and that would change everything. And, now they're in space. Hopefully hopefully they'll come back and plant themselves on Earth.
Right. Hopefully, because that story went on a little crazy.
Well, yeah, and I think it's they realized that they could, so they were like, "Why not?" So
we can, and people are gonna watch it, so we might as well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So me and Jamie were talking earlier. And
Yeah.
all these years later, we are very curious.
We would like to know.
Where do you think Jesse went when he left the track that day?
Oh man, they say the car wash, but I think he just went and he hid. He hid for a while, and just panicked. Like he just did that panic and then drove around and panicked some more and then drove around and panicked some more. So when when you see Jesse coming hot at the end, like it was already, maybe a couple. I don't think did Red Bull exist then, but he was, you know what I mean? He was amped, So I think there was just a lot of. Was it overnight? Now that I'm thinking about it, like he left.
The next day.
And then it was the next day, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he ate breakfast or anything. I think it was just like, I'm working it out,
Yeah.
Like driving around trying to process it all.
Yeah, that is
exactly
such a real life response though. Like somebody who does have anxiety or something like that, that's exactly what they would do.
Totally.
Yeah.
We're not gonna go out and like have a time. I think it's just gonna be like panic. And then back then we didn't have cell phones.
Right.
Nothing like that. Or maybe they had just. I don't even think we had. No, I tell you what, we didn't have that because if we did, we would have taken photos, but we just didn't. And I think that's why we also love that time, because we're never going to have that back again.
Yeah.
Yeah. You actually were in the moment, not
exactly
in your phone.
Exactly. I mean, we had the phones that you click and you wind, the ones that you buy at this. Yeah. That's what we had. Totally. And that's what we had. And I've took a few photos here and there, but I'm like, imagine if we had known. And that's the beauty of it too. Like we didn't.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
If Jesse had survived, where would you have liked to see his story go?
I think great question. I think like I said, I think Jesse would have grounded everybody, maybe a little bit more. But these are the Fast and the Furious movies, right? They're not meant to be like dramas,
Yeah.
So I think it would have been cool if maybe, if you were to see Jesse again, that maybe he was coming after the crew. You know what I mean? Like he was the bad guy.
Well, that could have been a fun twist.
Could have been.
It could have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. At least that's where I'm going
in
with
space now. They could bring somebody back from the dead.
That's what I'm saying. They're in space. They can surely.
To be fair, they did bring the guy back from Tokyo too. Like,
they did. Yeah.
They found a way.
They found a way. They can always find a way.
Yeah.
Hollywood finds a way. And personally, speaking of finding a way, I would love that if they did the dinosaurs. Like in Fast and the Furious, that would be a collaboration that I would love to see.
That
could be fun. Well, and and then like if they were to go back to the past, then they could save Jesse's character, and they could bring him back.
Yeah,
I agree.
That would be fun.
It would be. I mean, it'll be for us.
Yeah, we'll play that out in our heads.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man.
I mean, speaking of other like computer characters, though, you were Ash in Supernatural.
Yeah.
That's another character that like fans just have never forgot. What was your approach to bringing that character to life?
Well, it's funny. I just got back from Birmingham, London, or in the UK, doing a Supernatural con. So I just literally saw so many of the cast and.
I love that.
All of the fans, and looking back to how I got it, and then to see how far it's come, is another mind-blowing pop culture thing to be a part of. And I've gotten to travel the world because of Supernatural, and when I got the audition, that was one that I was not an idiot at the time, and I did not turn down. But I got the audition, and I knew right away that it was mine. I just knew, and I could feel it in my bones, but of course you still got to go in and fight for it. And I went into the audition, and there was probably about 25, 30 guys in the room. Just, it was a huge call cat. Oh yeah. Wow. There were a lot of guys there. And so I knew I had to stand out. And because Ash is such a huge character, he's big, right? So I went in with a plaid flannel shirt with the sleeves cut off, and I walked in and I met everybody and the producers and everybody, and I said hello, of course, and then they said, whenever you're ready. And I said, thank you. And then I turned around so my back was to them, and I unbuttoned my shirt all the way. And then I flew back around and I whipped my shirt open and I was bare chested, and I started the scene right there. And they all laughed hysterically, and that was it. I got the call later that night.
I love it. Yeah, that's one way to stand out.
Right.
Yeah, you have to. You know, and that's
memorable.
You have to. So I was like, well, Ash is definitely like a bare-chested, you know, let's do this. So, and the rest is history.
I love it.
Do you feel like your role for Ash was more fun or challenging for you?
Oh, you know, more fun than challenging. You know, I was telling the story in Birmingham, is that I had what we see, or what everybody ended up seeing, was the watered down version of Ash, because I shot the episode, but they also had him he was a psychic, he saw ghosts, he did all these other things on top of what you see. So they called and said, we got to water him down. So I flew back 3 weeks later, and we had to reshoot Ash. And there were notes. There were a lot of notes. So that was a stressful day, you know, because that was, you know, they were trying to, you know, how do we make this work? And you know, season 2, I think, was an experimental sort of season. You know, they weren't quite sure where they were heading yet, I think. And they were going to make us regulars at the time, but I think it was just like, where do we go from here? And looking back, we love the Roadhouse, but at the time, I think it was just, you know. And then of course Supernatural season 3, 4, 5, and then that's when it just started to, like, you know, shoot fireworks into the universe. And now, you know, it's one of the most popular television series of all time, you know?
Yeah. Were you surprised at the impact of Ash with the fans? I mean, like, they always wanted more Ash, and, you know, we only got what we got, but...
Yeah.
But I think he was such an impactful character.
Again, I think a lot of he was a comic relief too. You know, we needed like it was a good. It was you do, and everything was very serious or, you know, horror oriented. So when you came to Ash, it was like, this guy, you know, you're like, this guy's funny, knowledgeable, but you know, the mullet is just kind of speaks for itself, right? And that's once it went on, I disappeared, and that's where the fun of that was the spirit of the character, was literally just in the hair tossing alone, you know. And dare I say, I think to make that mullet sexy, it's Ash. Ash did that exactly. Yeah.
It only worked on Ash people, though.
We love Ash people. Yeah, exactly. The Dr. Badass. Exactly. But, you know, again, it was one of those things that, like, at the time, you don't realize the impact that show's going to have, or something that you're doing. And then, of course, like I said, I was just in the UK, and you pinch yourself, and it's tons of people, you know, it's like all over the world. And it's mind blowing. So, you know, right on.
Do you enjoy being a part of, like, fandom heavy shows where where fans are connected and drawn to you for years now?
You know, it's funny. If you can't guess, I'm a nostalgia freak.
Yeah.
I grew up, you know, in the 80s. I love movies and TV and you know, I just grew up with all the great stuff. I was heading somewhere. Remind me what you just said. I had a
being part of fandom heavy for so
Oh
many
yeah. Do I like? Yes. And the answer, yeah. So that's where I was going with it. Is yes, I love fandom. It's everything I think you hope for as an actor to be, in something that turns out to have a fandom or a presence of, So yeah, especially, I look back and I'm like, man, did that happen? That's crazy. Like it still doesn't seem real. It's very surreal. And it's you know to be able to contribute to other people's nostalgia
Yeah.
and what me, like I know when I meet somebody that means like that I grew up watching or that it's in something that's there's that connection and the fact that people have that connection with me and me with them, man, that's what you really hope for is to knock it out of the park and be
Yeah.
able to live that. So, you know, I'm very grateful and I love fan. Yeah. So I feel like too, I'm also one of those actors that kind of, I'm in different fun fan. I'm like a fandom act. I've just been in like so many different ones. And it's like, oh, of course, I don't know. So it's incredible.
What's been like one of your favorite fan interactions that you've got to have at like the conventions you go to?
Favorite fan interaction. Man, there's
I
so
know I'm making you
many.
dig in.
I know, no, there's so many. I think well, whenever you see somebody get really emotional or you see it live through them, and I tell people we experience the characters through you. We experience the characters through the fans, and because our what we perceive is going to be a whole lot different than like so um we get to experience it through everybody else. um and yeah, just to like, I mean, I love being a part of like fandoms and like you know so yeah.
Love that.
Have you ever caught yourself reacting to real life situations in a way that your character would from any show?
That's a good question. I think when you're doing a part, yeah, I think I will react in sort of like when I'm shooting something. There is sort of like I'm in that sort of zone and energy, so I'll notice it does maybe. Maybe I'm a little bit more like confident one day with somebody like giving me, and if I'm playing, I don't know if I'm playing a scary character or something. You kind of live in those. You sort of like, well, how would I react, or how would that character react? And then when it's over, I let it go immediately. It's just like you have to, just like you know.
Got to separate yourself from it.
Yeah, it's time to let it go, and you might still have a little residue of just kind of energy wise or mannerisms that you've been working on over and over again, and then you just sort of let them go and see what happens.
I'm sure it can be difficult sometimes.
Yeah, difficult to get into them too, or to figure out what am I gonna do? What is this? Sometimes they come very naturally, like Ash did. I didn't have to really figure it out much. I'm like, I get this, and then sometimes you're like, man, what do I do with this? Can I do this? And the challenge of doing it. So,
what would you say your most difficult or your most challenging role to get into has been?
Great question. I think the remake that I Spit on Your Grave that I did was, I would say very challenging because it was a fine line to walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was challenging, and at times I'm like, what am I doing? Like you question yourself. You're like, what am I? And then without spoiling anything, The Burbs is also It's sort of you know, how do I? It was challenging in a way that like, how do I approach this? Another fine line thing, right? And so
Right.
yeah, um, I, yeah. But you know, again, like, what else has been like super challenging? You find yourself in a little bit of all the characters. You know, there's something that's
Yeah.
a little bit of you. Um, but yeah, I would say that the Burbs was a different challenge for me that I was used to. So
Yeah. The
yeah,
Burbs was really great. What can you tell us about Walter and his role in the Burbs without spoilers for those who haven't
sure.
seen it?
You listen. I grew up watching the Tom Hanks movie. Yeah, you know, one of my favorite all time movies. You know, to be able to have found myself on this incredible, you know, show of the Burbs was like unreal.
Yeah.
And it definitely a dream job come true. We filmed on the original street, you know, that they filmed the actual Burbs up at
That's incredible.
Universal, which is a iconic street. It's like it was
Right.
Wisteria Lane, and it was all these things. It's one of the streets they drive by on the, you know, when you're taking the Universal tram. You know, like it's iconic. That was a big deal. And Walters is the garbage man. The garbage man was in the original, and but there's a little bit of a slight twist on this garbage man. Um,
Nice.
he's just a guy, you know. He's just there taking out your trash. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just taking out the trash. That's all.
yeah.
Just take out the trash.
He just takes out the trash, man. That's it.
I love
But
that.
it's yeah, I really love the show. Kiki Palmer and Jack White. I mean, everyone was so delightful,
It's
and
such a fun cast of people for sure.
yeah, and it's a fun show. It just got renewed for a season two, which is
Awesome.
exciting for everybody. And
Yes.
I just yeah, I probably one of my favorite characters that of recently of mine that I'm like, pretty good.
Having lots of fun with that
Eh,
one.
yeah, that was pretty good, you know, because you
I
never
like
know.
it.
But I think the show's great, so I'm excited to see what they do with
Yeah.
season two.
That'll be fun.
Yeah,
Have
yeah.
you have you ever taken a role that's changed you as a person?
Ooh, I think great question. I with the exception of maybe like you know, the procedural, you know, who done it, you know, I've done a lot of like interrogation scenes and you know, like, you know, a lot of guest stars in my day that you certainly don't think twice and you move forward. You know, but I think a lot of probably a lot of my roles that I'm known for have all or the experience of making the project has always changes you in a good way. It should.
Yeah.
Or you know, again, or maybe it was very hard, or it was very challenging, and you know, you learn so much about yourself and what you're made of. I think when you go do a project, because you can't, you have to show up and you have to do your job. You can't, you know, call in sick.
Right.
Like you got to
Right.
show up and
You
you
don't
got
have
to
that
like
luxury.
do it. Yeah, you know. So, um, but they've all been yeah, you do learn. What that is, I don't know, or it could even be, you know, you learn about, you know, something you didn't before. You know, this person that you're playing, this kind of character, these characteristics, these circumstances of a character. So, you know, I've played real people before, and you're like, oh, you know, you gotta read about that. Um, so yeah, like, and so I do learn, and then just the experience of making the project, the people that you meet, you know, you always come back, or I, you know, come through on the other side of a project, and you feel like you've grown And so that, at least that's the hope.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
It should be. You should
Yeah.
feel
I
like you've
agree.
grown, at least as an actor, each role you take on.
Exactly. Because it's a very personal thing too, right? I
Right.
think a role, you know, hopefully will always go to the right person. And, you know, again, like I did this to, you know, what was called Redline at the time, and it turned into the Fast and the Furious, and it found me despite me pushing it away.
Right.
So you got to be open to those things, and now
And
it's
when it
just a whole
finds the
different
right
story.
person, it is
Yeah,
impactful,
exactly.
like Jesse's character was.
Exactly. So I think it goes to what's supposed to most of the time, you know.
Most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah.
We can all agree with that.
Right. You've mentioned like kind of the roles that you're the most known for. Is there a role that you're like really proud of that you just feel like didn't get enough attention?
Great question. Man, you know, I've been pretty lucky that everything that meant something to me has found its way, you know, into the ether, to pop culture, to, you know, someone's living room and their television before there were phones. You know, I got to film movies. I've done movies that were filmed in film. You know, and so it's like it's pretty epic, man. I don't know that I would change anything. I think everything that I've hoped that would be seen has been seen in so many million more times than I could ever expect. So, and then of course now I get, you know, the there's always somebody that has you know, maybe they're a Buffy fan now, or maybe they're like Agents of Shield, or they come out, you know, with things, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I did do that.
Oh yeah, wasn't
yeah, that's right, yeah.
Is it kind of nice when people do come up to you and they talk about those roles that aren't like Jesse or Ash?
Yeah, yes, it's fun because they surprise me, and I'm like, oh yeah, or, you know, somebody will see me and recognize me, and I can always tell, you know, a mile away, and most of the time it's Fast and the Furious or Super. But, you know, I've been so many things now that I'm always on TV somewhere, or I'm always you know, there's always something playing. But yeah, sometimes somebody, and you think you're gonna say one thing, and then it's like, you know, hey, weren't you on Law and Order? Like, oh yeah, I was. Yeah,
it was that one time.
Yeah, exactly.
You recognize me from that.
yeah. So you never know. You never know, and you know, you could be all the way across the world and think no one knows who you are, and then you know, it's just,
and they do.
You know, and they do. Yeah.
Well, I have a fun question for you.
Yeah, please.
If Ash and Jesse met, what do you think their conversation would look like?
I think they would be cool with each other. I really do. I think they would respect the other's craft, you know. You know what I mean? I think of course they've got computer skills, and back when it just wasn't quite it's where it's at now, and everyone's got phones and stuff, like, no, you had to know floppy disks, right? Jesse was using a floppy disk. That says
floppy
it all.
Disk for people who don't know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, right? We were. Yeah, please.
You'll have to Google them. Like it's
exactly.
Technology.
Exactly. I mean, we were stealing VCRs in the Fast and the Furious. We were stealing VCRs. You know, but I think they would get along. I think they would get along really well. You know, I don't see them clashing in any way. I think there would be respect. I think Jesse would definitely think Ash was a little strange. You know, he probably wouldn't. I don't think he would get him necessarily, but he'd be like, "It's cool. It's cool." You know.
Yeah.
With his cigarette, and Ash has a beer. Jesse's got a cigarette, and they're just like, so yeah.
You could just vibe though.
Exactly.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think so. you've kind of been pretty open about your interest in like the paranormal.
Yeah.
Where did that kind of begin for you?
Since I was a little kid and having grown up, well, not grown up we lived there for about 4 or 5 months, lived in a haunted house when we were kids, not knowing what that was or what that meant.
Yeah.
Where before television, before paranormal TV, before any of that, things happened and you didn't really talk about it because it was like, well, it just wasn't spoken about. And if something, and my earliest memory was my family, my parents and my sister, my younger sister, who's 5 years younger than myself. And I must have been 7, 8 at the time. And we had moved into this house. There was an old couple that lived there, and the woman had passed in the house, and the husband was forced to go into a senior living situation. Unbeknownst to really us kids or really the situation at the time. And we walked and we were living at this house. And I remember eventually we were all sleeping in the living room, like very cliche, like everyone's eventually in the living room because they can't sleep. And one night we were sleeping and all of a sudden, clang, 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 clang. And we ran into the kitchen and all the pots and pans had been thrown out of the cupboards. And again, the cliche, all the cupboard doors were open. And my mom said, "That's enough," screamed like, "That's enough." Really not even understand what was that. What is we? And we ended up moving shortly after that. I got very, very sick, deathly ill. A lot of weird things happened. But the old woman was not happy that we were there. And come to find out, my sister would wake up in the middle of the night and see the old woman in the corner sitting there watching her. So that's where it kind of began, and then you forgot about it, right? And I many more.
Tries to explain it.
Yeah, you don't even. We didn't even think about it. It was like now, and now you're like, oh, okay. And then many years go by, and always I became an actor. And then the paranormal TV started to happen, and I was like, oh, like this is really great. And then eventually I pursued going on the Ghost Adventures, which was the first thing that I had reached out and they had me on years ago. And then it kind of I started just going out and meeting everybody I possibly could in this field, and going out to all these crazy places to investigate like everybody else. Eventually led me to have a show on Destination America called Ghost Stalkers, produced by Nick Groff, who was on Ghost Adventures, and then he went on to go do many other shows, Paranormal Lockdown. But he produced our show, and it was with John Tenney, and they put us in these really crazy places overnight, and it was life-changing, scary. And now I do ghost hunts, and I take people out on to really scary places, and we investigate, and we try to tear the lid off of like what's going on and why things are the way they are. And I've always been fascinated with life and death. I don't think that any of this is normal. I don't really think being human is normal. If you step back and you're like, well, what is this? It's weird, right? So like, well, what is that? And then it's like, well, what happens when we die? There's that whole thing too. And then in between all that, you have what's all this ghosts and paranormal and Bigfoot and aliens, and what is all this stuff too, and things that we can't explain. So with all that being said, I pursue it, and I love it because it takes us out of the emails and the situations and guess what Bob said and all this stuff that just, it's like, ugh. But then when you have an experience or something it can be very profound.
Yeah.
And it makes you be like, oh, okay, you get back to like, well, what is this? So that's my short, because I could talk about ghosts forever, but it's like that's my shortened version of why and kind of what led me into it, and also it for me it's a very it's a reaffirming thing. I love to go to these places, and I'll get my ass handed to me. It's at times I've got a lot of stories that are quite intense, but so yeah, besides acting, I love to go out and see what's up in the paranormal. And, I think it's all paranormal, quite frankly. Just being alive. it's you know what I mean. And I think the Earth is haunted. So
yeah, that's fair. Yeah, no. I feel like I could say like it sounds like fun, but the other part of me is like, no, you're a chicken shit. Just sit down.
I was gonna say, we stayed in a haunted house in Connecticut, and you wouldn't even go to one side of the house.
The one bathroom, the one bathroom, like I walked in there and I was like, absolutely not. I could feel them. And then at night, there was in my bed, like I faced the wall because I don't like people seeing me when I sleep.
Yeah.
So I faced the wall, and I kid you not, I told Destiny, I was like, my wall has a smell. Like there was a smell coming from my
cinnamon.
wall.
I went and laid in her bed.
Cinnamon.
Just out of the blue. And it was only that one time.
Cinnamon.
Yeah. You never know. That's the thing. You never know. And I think there's a lot of there's a huge reason why we can't see what's really going on. Right? Well, why we're limited, because if we couldn't handle it.
I think part of it too is our brain tells us like we don't want to know. So we're not open to it. So
because I'm so open to it and I want to know.
There's that. Well, exactly. Right. I think I listen, I'm the same way. I want to push and push and push and to sometimes an unhealthy degree, because I definitely have been bit, you know what I mean? Like, if you put your hand in the snake pen, eventually you will get bit. And to what you said, it does get real. And that's the thing. It's like people are like, yeah, I want to go out and it's going to be cute and fuzzy and
not on Casper.
Exactly. And it's like that a ghost hunt and it's but you get there and then it's like, oh man, like you start to really feel the and it gets real. It's totally deep. Yeah, it gets deep. And that's why I love it too. It's like you can see I love when people show up and they're like, I don't believe. I'm like, well,
that's the best.
You're about to.
Yeah. You're about because I'm like,
I'll change your mind.
Totally. I I'm like, good, bring it to me, because I know that there's just a lot going on. Like, there is.
I want to come investigate with you.
Totally. Hey, anytime. Where are you guys from?
Atlanta.
Oh, Atlanta. Okay, right on. I hopefully, I travel, do a lot of ghost hunts. I'm gonna do. I just posted today. We're gonna do
Georgia.
I would imagine. I
did Rhodes Hall with Chris Fleming.
And yeah.
Kind of worked with Chip Coffee, and so like
the Rhodes Hotel.
Yes. So much fun.
Oh yeah, I love the Rhodes Hotel.
I love it.
Yeah, it's Mike Couch, right? Mike at the Rhodes Hotel.
I think so.
Am I thinking who owns it? Yes, or who takes care of it? Chip Coffee.
So many places around here I desperately want to investigate.
Absolutely, and I find, there's some good places here in Los Angeles, but not like Indiana, Georgia, like all these places where it's just, some of the most scariest places I've ever been have not been here in California, but, more I go east.
East Coast,
East Coast, Middle America, you never know. And if you underestimate some of these places, they'll let you know, like,
Yeah.
And
for
look,
sure.
totally. And look, I have no idea what's going on. You know what I mean? We've got no idea. We
Right.
could try to like put it into words, but I think it's still like, we never know.
No, you don't. I've had some crazy experiences in like St. Augustine too, down in Florida.
Oh yeah.
But then I know, like, I have family that lives really close to the South Pittsburgh Hotel in Tennessee.
It's funny. Okay, I got goosebumps now because you just mentioned Old South Pittsburgh Hospital.
Yes.
And like it was on the tip of my tongue. Have you been there?
I've been outside. I haven't been inside, and I want to so bad.
So the tattoo here I have on my shoulder is what I got because of Old South Pittsburgh Hospital. So if you want my ultimate ghost story, I'll land it on you right now. I feel like I gotta tell. Okay, all right. So this is my good luck monkey, and it's gonna come back to the monkey here. But this is my good luck monkey. The second time I ever did an event at Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, about a week after I had gotten this because it rocked me so good. So I don't know how long ago it was, 5-6 years ago now, we did the first event, and I was working with a company. They had asked if I would come out and do an event with them. I travel and do a lot of ghost hunts with different teams, right? Different paranormal celebrity, all of that. And come to this place. It's called Old South Pittsburgh Hospital. So of course I'm always down, and before I go, he sends me this photo. The head of the event sends me a photo. And in this photo he says, "Look at this. It looks like a goat." I'm like, well, interesting. And you see in this photo the long hallway, and at the end of the hallway is this sort of a stick kind of like figure, and it's got the head of a goat. It's got horns sticking out. It's got kind of like a cow face a little bit from far away, but you can definitely see it's got horns and whatnot. And I'm like, all right, I can kind of see that. That's wicked. So I go to this place, and upon arrival, and you've been outside of it, you can probably it's unlike anything that I have. This place, it gets me because once it gets in you,
can feel it outside.
You can feel it outside. So, and even when I talk about it, I can feel that place. It's one of the most disturbing, most sickening, most haunted places I've ever been in my life. So the first night, I think, because they separate a lot of the investigators and they put groups with you. You go around and you go with this group, you go with this group and whatnot. And I'm in the basement of this place, or they call it the nurse. I don't know. They call it like the nursery or something like that. It's escaping me. And and I've got a photo that I can send you guys if you wanted to put it, with your stream or whatever when you release it.
Please do.
Yes. And so we did this investigation, and it was pretty hairy. Later that night, one of the guys was in, and he was taking photos at the time that I was in this room. And you see me in the photo standing up front. You see about 4 or 5 alive people, and then you see something in the corner of the room, and from afar it just looks like actually an attendee, right? You're like, oh, it's a person sitting over there. And the guy was like, oh, it looks like somebody forgot their face. And I was like, this photo is ridiculous. I went to bed and I was like, what are you sending me right now? I wake up the next morning and I'm like, let's look at this again. And I zoom in, and it's literally sitting in a window is this creature. And it's literally it's got this massive black body that goes into the wall, and it's literally sitting on itself. It's got like like these legs, right? And it's sitting like on itself, and it's got these long arms, and it's got like a cow head. It's got some horns, and it's got this big black Maine. And there's a better picture of it than what I'm sending you. Somebody's got a better one of it, but like in the original, you can see like bone, like a chest, like a bones, and then those if you scroll in, you can see faces. Um, it's a wicked photo, right? And it takes up like almost this entire window, which was massive in itself. Couldn't see it in the room. You could definitely feel what was going on, but in the photo that you'll see, what's really wicked, it's just wicked how it looks by itself, but the most creepy thing about it is the way that it's leaning forward and it's got its head sort of like cocked and it's listening to me. You know, when someone's very engaged and listening to you, it had this thing where it was just like, I'm right here and I'm listening to everything you're saying. And that, and then I showed it to all of the investigators there, and we just were like, nearly fell over. We've never seen anything like it. We've tried to debunk it. I've never seen anything quite like it. So have a crazy event, you know, a lot of tears and whatnot. Eventually, you know, after 3 nights of doing an investigation, we leave, you know, and definitely work it out for a while. He asked me to come back 2 months later, 3 months later, and I said, no. I said, I don't think I can do that, man. I don't, you know. And then, you know, I'm like, God damn it. And I'm like, okay, I got it. You know, there's that part of me. It's like, nah, I got to go back. So I went back, and then this is what really, and I brought a buddy with me, a good friend with me this time. And we did an event. And when I got there and I asked the lady, I go, hey, the lady that owned the building, she's like, yeah, what you're seeing, you know, people would see this thing and this big thing, and it manifests in 3 different ways. I'm like, oh, what's that? She's like, the first way that it will manifest is like a goat. People see a goat. I'm like, oh, and so when the photo was originally sent to me, the stick figure down the hallway with the horns maybe could be perceived as a goat. Wow, okay. Well, what's the second way that people see this thing? She's like, a bull. They see it like a bull. Well, in the photo that you'll see is, to me, it looks like a bull because the black body is literally going like a body of a bull. It's going into the wall and it's sitting on its hooves, right? And it's got this massive body. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe that's the bull. And I'm like, well, what's the third way this thing manifests? And she goes, a monkey. And I'm like, a monkey. Yeah, okay. And then somebody shows me a photo of a monkey creature peeking behind a cabinet that they had caught, right? Wicked stuff. I'm like, oh, I want to see this. I want to see this. Right. And people will be like, oh, yeah, we see these red eyes through the building. And that's the monkey. It's the red eyes. And I'm like, okay, let's go. I'm there for another 3-day event. And I'm like, I want to see this monkey. I want to see this monkey. Can you still hear me? My thing just went out. Okay, good. I want to see this monkey. So I start pushing for the monkey, right? I must have said the word monkey a million times. The whole joke of the entire event was, we're going to see this monkey, right?
Right.
Anyway, lots of things happened. Somebody went to the ER, a lot of crazy things. Oh yeah, it just started to unravel more and more and more and more.
It's a crazy spot.
Yeah, it is. By the third night, I was pushing things, and my buddy ends up taking me outside, and he's like, man, you're going to get yourself killed. Like you've got to pull it back. And he was right. I was pushing in ways that maybe I shouldn't have been. So the next day, when we had finished the event, never saw the monkey, right? We finished the event, and the heads of the event and my buddy and I were at the Cracker Barrel having our breakfast, or having our lunch, right? Kind of recapping the weekend, and oh my God, crazy, can you believe it? And my buddy says, oh shit, we gotta go because of we gotta get to the rental car place before they close. And I'm like, oh yeah. So everyone's standing up and they've got their paying their tabs and whatnot. And we're literally rushing out of the Cracker Barrel. And the first thing I see is this woman, and she's standing there, and in her arms is a pet monkey. When's the last time you've ever seen a pet monkey, right? Let alone,
and especially at a Cracker Barrel.
Exactly.
What?
At a Cracker Barrel in the middle of Tennessee. And she walked by me. She carried the monkey inside of a Cracker Barrel. The monkey looked at me in the eye, made a noise. It goes, "Ooh!" It walks into the building, and we all nearly fell over. And that was a huge, huge message from the universe. If you want to see a monkey, we're gonna show you a monkey. But we're not going to show you that monkey, because once that monkey gets inside of you, you don't want that. We're going to show you a real monkey. Still one of the most profound. So, and then of course I got this about a week later, and that's my good luck monkey, right?
I love that.
Yeah. So that is my drawn out long version of Old South Pittsburgh Hospital. And
places.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so I understand. Now, did you have the opportunity to go in? You just chose not to.
Not when I did. Not when I went. I have talked to the owner since about doing it overnight, and I very much want to. It's just trying to get a big enough group together.
I hear you.
My friends are like, "You're insane," and don't want to do that with me. It's what Jamie's thinking right now.
Just a tad, but like while he was talking, it made me remember the Milledgeville Asylum that's here, not too far away, and I kind of want to go to that.
Totally.
And that one's and it's almost impossible to get permission. Like people urban explore all the time; they're not supposed to, but because there is like asbestos and things like that, and the building is in dangerous conditions. But I agree. I would love the opportunity to explore there.
Yeah. Right on. I want to go back and do an event there eventually, but it's that place, man. That's like it does affect you. Like, you get to some of these places, and then some people maybe aren't affected, right? It's all dependent, I think, on you, the energy of the location. God knows who or what we're dealing with, because we're so limited in what we know, I think.
I agree.
Yeah, so hopefully at some point I would love for you guys to come out.
Yeah, that would be a blast. If you're here, we'll go. We're all the things. We're both.
Amazing. And which brings me to, I have to thank you for being a fan of my mom and supporting. Mama Lou made, she loves you too. And I
guys, by the way,
I love it.
I love it. I wear it every day.
It means so much. Yeah, I wear her stuff too, and it's just we love doing that, and she's come around to do that again in her life. So it meant a lot that you support that.
Beautiful stuff. No, I saw this one and I was like, I am drawn to that. I need that. That is supposed to be mine.
And that's it. Yeah, that's the vibe. Exactly. That's kind of what she has in mind. It's like it's just whether a piece is meant to find you or not. So I'm so happy. Yeah.
I love it. And I will link her page in this interview as well. For everyone that's listening now and loves this and wants to get their own. There are also special pieces that maybe have stuff to do with Chad's characters that you may like in your fans. So
yes, they are actually.
Well, I have one last and final
please.
That I think will be great. Out of all of your roles, which one has been your absolute favorite and the most impactful for you?
What's been my favorite and most impactful? I, with the exception of a couple that just, maybe way back when, maybe when I wasn't in a great time in my life, or, usually you kind of like stay away from watching those, but I would say I love all of them, and each one of them has meant something to me. Of course, there were the ones like Jesse that, just blew it out of the water. But I'm always still surprised about what ends up finding me. The Burbs being one of them, and it's like, oh, and I didn't have to audition. That was one that, like, I don't know, I was given. And so, yeah, and so they're all impactful, I think, and like I said earlier, getting to live through everybody else, living the characters through everybody else, and then occasionally I'm like, oh yeah, that was good, But then I'm also like, well, like, what? That's that's crazy. Like, what does it mean to be an actor? It's so bizarre. So I just count my blessings, and I'm like, right on. And then I get to meet, you folks, and it just, it's a good thing.
Well, everybody can check out The Burbs streaming on Peacock now. And then, Chad, where can people find you online to stay updated with what's going on?
Oh, good. They can find me on TikTok, and they can find me on Instagram, and yeah, all the good stuff. I'm out there.
Perfect. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Chad, for being here.
Thank you so much.
It has been an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.